What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another week, another episode of Simply Sessions. We got our good buddy Nico here from Simply Bitcoin. And for the first time ever in Simply Vision, apparently we are going to be streaming also simultaneously to the Simply Bitcoin channel. So you've got the session side, you've got the Simply side, and they're coming together almost as if they are touching tips together in a live streaming environment. So we're going to be seeing about doing a bit of this, and then you can just watch it from wherever. We're just happy you're here. That's all we really want. We're just excited to have you here. So we're going to be talking about a whole bunch. Have you checked out the copy of the Bitcoin white paper on your Mac? Do you know what I'm talking about? We'll be chatting about that a little bit. We're going to be talking about El Salvador. We're going to be talking about Texas. We're going to be talking about Paxful. Whole bunch of stuff been going on this week, and Nico is here to fill us in. Very excited about it. Of course, this is live. Anything can happen. So I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
If you have not already, please do like, subscribe, and share to both channels. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, let's take a look at where we are in the market right now. This is timechainstats.com. My time chain calendar wasn't loading, so for the time being, we are over here on timechainstats.com. We're sitting at $28,000 and $28,068. 68. Come on, turn over. No, it's not going to do it for me, is it? 2,000. I'll just go for it anyways. 28,069. Nice dollars per coin. A single US dollar will pick you up 3,563 sats. In terms of fees, 34 sats per byte for next block. If you're willing to wait a little bit, 11 sats per byte should do you. And where am I at here? I'm learning my way around this, by the way, just so you know. It's all so new to me. Where are we at? Holy crap. Wow. Apparently I need to reacquaint myself with this. But nonetheless, we'll just go with that. All right. Let's just dive in. All right. Shout out to sponsors of the show. HODLHODL.com. If you are stacking sats and you're looking to have a few priorities in mind, namely instant self-custody, peer-to-peer trading, non-KYC, HODL could be the place for you. You can sign up with nothing more than an email address. You don't have to give any of your personal info. You can be trading and stacking non-KYC sats in minutes. They've got an easy dashboard. It's super simple to buy and sell Bitcoin here. They also have a peer-to-peer lending platform in which nothing is ever rehypothecated. Check them out, hodlhodl.com. Link is below. Now, if you do happen to get your hands on some non-KYC sats, you're going to want to store it in the best damn hardware on the market. The Cold Card, made by our friends over at CoinKite, is badass. The Mark IV is an absolute beast. So be sure to check them out. They also have things like the Tap Signer, the Sats Card, the Block Clock, the Open Dime, all that stuff. And coming down the pipe very soon, the Cold Card Q1 looks incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on one. Anyways, check them out, coinkite.com. You can use code BTC Sessions for 5% off everything. And hit me up in Miami. I am doing a cold card workshop, so check it out there. Now, if you're looking to go beyond just single sig options and you're looking at perhaps multi-sig, Nunchuck has you covered with the assisted multi-sig setup and built-in inheritance planning. Super easy. I've done a full video on it. It walks you through step-by-step. The app walks you through step-by-step everything about setting up your devices and getting your multi-sig and your inheritance planned out. Works with the Cold Card, works with Tap Signer, and a ton of other great options. It's super easy to use. And on top of that, you know I'm a big fan because no KYC as well. That tends to differentiate it from other options out there on the market. Love these guys. Nunchuck are knocking out of the park. So head over to nunchuck.io to check them out. And finally, Start9, your sovereign computing solution. I've covered these guys a whole bunch. You can set up your full Bitcoin stack, Bitcoin Core, Lightning, all of it. Join market, mempool.space. You can also host your data, passwords, photos, files, all that stuff. And you can host Nostr relays and Nostr clients, all kinds of great stuff. Check them out, start9.com. The Embassy One is your kind of base entry-level solution. And if you're looking for something super beefy, the Embassy Pro has you covered as well. Quick shout out to the Fountain Boostograms. Weekly Hodl said, abs, always be stacking and memeing. Mo BTC Dick says, I have heard 23% of hash rate is now hydroelectrically produced. Does this mean Canadian miners are putting in serious work? There's a lot of hydro out in Quebec, although they've been kind of crappy to miners, to be honest. Besides the point. Anyways, Joey says, I heard some fiat trader bro that BTC is going down in a few months. I gotta say, I agree with him that BTC is going down. No, not Bitcoin. I'm talking about the Benico touching tips ceremony. Hashtag touch tips tribe. Fantastic. Unit of account gives me the Pura Vida. Al Cool says, I need to make an S9 space heater. Can't wait to learn. For sure, man. Check it out. Michael says, if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. JPC says, welcome to home heating with a miner and cryosats with 20,000 sats to stay humble and stack sats. Thanks, man. Good to see you. Let's dive in. I'll clear my screen here. Let's welcome him up. Hello, buddy. How you doing, man?
Yo, this is crazy, bro. Multicasting.
Like we're in two places at once. I don't like the tips don't know where to go.
I know, bro. I know. The tips aren't long enough. Okay. Too many places to be.
There's so many great hashtags that are happening. Touch tips tribe. What do you think of that one?
I like it. Maybe we start a movement, and the higher Bitcoin goes up in price, the more people will have. We'll just start walking on the street. You'll see someone with a streak. That guy's a Bitcoiner. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's maybe. I wonder if more people might partake in the streak ceremony, and we'll just have like an army of streak minions. Pop up. It could happen. It could happen. Well, let's redecorate in here. Let's get some snazzy. Bam.
Simple sessions.
Yeah, man. Well, let's kick it off. First of all, again, thanks for. I mean, I assume it'll be equally pleasantly viewed from either side of the aisle. So if you're watching from the Simply Bitcoin channel, welcome. If you're watching from my channel, welcome as per usual. And yeah, I don't even know in the comments like who's coming from where. Actually, I see like little
chain. It's a little chain. It's a little chain. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is cool. I'm stoked to see everybody popping in. Anyways, guys, thank you for being. And I'll pull up comments from here and there. I think I need to make an effort to be more interactive on the news shows because I am on the Why Are We Bullish because I get time to sit back and relax while the other guests chat and everything. But I tend to be pretty all over the place with the news. So maybe we'll start. We'll start by being more interactive with everything here. But anyways, dude, what's been going on? Where should we start? What's going on?
Opti in the chat. Wait, what room am I in?
There he is. Where am I? I don't know who to shoot. Good.
Man.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, what's top of mind, man? What's been going on?
Dude, crazy week. So many things happening in this continuation of separate money and state, man. Some crazy things. So first of all, you guys know the deal. We're apolitical. That left, right, it's all BS. It's not red versus blue. It's orange versus green. Okay, so that being said, right, you had Donald Trump basically saying the quiet part out loud. And this was the day that he got indicted, basically saying, look, the US dollar is at risk of losing world reserve currency status. But I think I just hit the crap out of my mic. But the thing that I find the most interesting is the hypocrisy, right? The hypocrisy from the legacy corporate media, fiat machine, basically saying that El Salvador Nayib Bukele is a threat to democracy, even though in the US, right, they just whatever you think of Donald Trump, right, they just put the opposing political front runner in prison, right? So it's just interesting how that is. But Ben, do you mind playing the clip and then we'll jump into the article?
Let's do it. Okay, here we go.
Clearest perspectives on our country come from outside its borders. With distance comes clarity. So with that in mind, here is Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele on Twitter today. Quote, "Think what you want about former President Trump and the reasons he's being indicted," Bukele wrote. "But just imagine if this happened in any other country where a government arrested the main opposition candidate. The United States' ability to use, quote, democracy as foreign policy is gone."
Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power.
Ooh, that's spicy, man. Spicy.
So spicy. And if you don't mind, Ben, let's pull up
Clearest perspectives.
My bad. There we go.
There we
That's
go.
the one.
Do you guys remember this? We covered it. El Salvador's authoritarian president is becoming a regional role model. This is dangerous for democracy and human rights. Isn't that pure, literally, bro, just hypocrisy right up in your grill, just as much in your grill as the European Central Bank tweet that basically said, hey, the reason that there's rising inflation is because workers are asking for money. And I have a theory about that, Ben. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know, but Christine Lagarde and Opti were in a relationship. Opti dumped Christine Lagarde, and I think this is Chrissy's revenge. That's my opinion.
It might be. I mean, she is spiteful. I know that about her. She doesn't take that kind of stuff. I mean, she's gonna pull that head and shoulders sponsorship. She's not gonna be kind like it's all going out the window. It's crumbling around us.
So yeah, Opti is 100% responsible for inflation. Everyone knows now.
Yeah, that's what I've taken from this. I got a shout out to Bitcoin Croissant. Says Trump has truth spoken by Trump. I'm not political. I mean, I gotta say, like, it seems at least directionally correct, right? Like people are moving away from the dollar. You're seeing more and more announcement, and it's not going to happen overnight. But like, you know, pulling the whole we're going to freeze, you know, the reserves of Russia. You know, it is going to be a massive change as it gradually happens for the U.S. Right? Like there's been. The U.S. has had this exorbitant privilege of being the world reserve currency, and let's be honest, it's been used in a way that has been more or less predatory, especially to developing nations. And so, yeah, it's going to be rough. I mean, really, if you take advantage of that position and you're too predatory to it, then what do you expect to happen? People are going to shift and look for other options. They're going to try and roll out options that are you know, more favorable to them. But luckily we have this kind of neutral global settlement layer that people can opt out to instead.
100%. 1,000,000%. Anyways, so other news coming out of El Salvador. El Salvador president readies bill to eliminate taxes on tech. And there's more information El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele said on Thursday he will send to the country's Congress next week a bill to eliminate all taxes on technology innovations as well as computing and communications hardware manufacturing. Quote, next week, I'll be sending a bill to Congress to eliminate all taxes, income, property, capital gains, and import tariffs in technology innovations, such as software programming, coding, apps, and AI development. Goes on to say the tax cut would also encompass computing, communications, hardware manufacturing. The Salvadorian leader is eager to make the Central American country a cryptocurrency hub. I hate how they say that. No, it's a Bitcoin hub. And here's a tweet by the Bitcoin office. And here's the English translation of a lot of parts of the bill, which we kind of just read the very important parts from the Reuters article. So anyways, dude, it's just, man, it's interesting how much the media tries to spin, but this guy stays winning. And I believe he stays winning because El Salvador has adopted a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, this is the exemplification of a move towards that sovereign individual thesis, right? The flag theory, go where you're treated best. This is what was foreseen in that book, and all that really needed to happen for it to fully take place was a sovereign apolitical money that is global, because we already had the communication infrastructure. We already had the idea of global nomads being able to work from wherever. We just needed kind of that global money, and we needed we had a degree of countries kind of catering to people like this, but like this is full on a country catering to the entrepreneurs that they want to attract and using an apolitical money, a global currency, to entice them to come there and use that currency and live in a self-sovereign way. Yeah, I'm curious to see when we have like very, very visible alternatives to El Salvador, what that competition becomes like, right? When El Salvador is like, hey, no taxes on this, that, and the other thing, come here, be Bitcoiners here. And then you get the next country to come in and say, hey, but also over here, but here's another little special incentive that we have for you to come here. The competition is going to get fierce, I think. And then the protectionism of places like the US is going to get fierce. The US already follows you everywhere on the globe to collect Uncle Sam's tax money. Can you imagine how much worse it's going to get when you have countries enticing people to go there like this?
Dude, bro, it's game, set, and match. And I don't think that they are aware of that. Like, I think politicians are still playing this like weird game of, hey, this weird game of like, hey, they still believe that they have this like geographical monopoly advantage, right? But the reality is that it's not the case anymore. Like Bitcoiners, specifically Bitcoiners, the ones that take self-custody, dude, they're just gonna get up and leave if you treat them unfairly, right? Yeah. And actually, that is a perfect segue to what is happening in Texas, right? Yeah. So in Texas, for anyone who doesn't know, Pierre Richard last week basically was trying to make the case that you shouldn't get rid of the incentives. This bill in the Texas Senate was introduced. It passed committee. Now it's up for vote in the Senate. And what it would basically do is that it would limit the amount of power that Bitcoin miners could sell back to the Texas grid. It'd limit it by 10%. It'd also take away a bit of tax incentives. But what they don't know is that what happened when China banned Bitcoin mining? Where did all those miners go? They flowed to where they treated best. And this completely coincides with the theory in the sovereign individual, right? With the rise of information technologies, it's going to empower individuals, the likes of which has never seen before in human history. And I don't think governments are accustomed to that. They're like, look, this is the law. And they're not accustomed to a bunch of Bitcoiners who are saying, look, I'm not going to sell my corn. If it means I have to memorize my 24-word seed phrase to bring my Bitcoin and my family's future with me, fuck you. I'm going to, sorry.
Yeah, that's
F you.
all good, man.
That's what I'm going to do. So anyways, I'll read a little bit of the demand, a little bit of the details. And by the way, I think this seems to be like an older article, but this was passed by committee. Anyways, so Texas committee has moved forward on a bill that could make the state less attractive for Bitcoin miners. The bill, sponsored by Republican senators Nico can't read, guys, or pronounce those names, but you guys get it. A bunch of Republican state senators aims to nix tax breaks and demand miners using more than 10 megawatts. Lawmakers in the state unanimously approved State Bill 1751 10-0. Texas is considered one of the largest hubs for Bitcoin mining. You guys all know that. And the reason for this, and here's the key provision, and then I'll pass it on to you, Ben. A key provision of the new bill restricts miners' participation in that demand response scheme to just 10%, right? And here's some comments by Dennis Porter. Dennis Porter is the CEO of Satoshi Action Fund. He says, quote, unfortunately, members of the committee were swayed by the influence of powerful bill sponsor. There is talk it could also pass through the Senate. It will be critical to fight back against this bill in the House in order to kill the bill. So, man, they're fighting back. Dude, who's doing this? Who's doing this? This is benefiting the Texas economy. I don't know what's going on there, Ben.
So I've heard rumblings that was it like not Berkshire Hathaway, the guy, God, why am I forgetting his name? The billionaire.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah, Warren Buffett. Yeah, I've heard rumblings about him having some incentives in and around the power generation there, in and around the gas power and stuff like that, and being directly incentivized to not allow this type of behavior in and around miners there, but I'm a little fuzzy on those details. Nonetheless, like, okay, so let's say this fully passes through the Senate and becomes law. Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. Sovereign individual thesis playing out on a state by state level within the US. And if it becomes too onerous in the US, what happens? The exact same thing that happened in China. People peace out and they head to more favorable regions. And it's the local economies that could have been, better dealing with their grids, that could have had buyers of last resort to gobble up literal waste and pay for it. They could have had that buyer. And now it's just like, well, I guess, what do we do with this extra energy? And they're like, oh, geez, we don't have anybody to sell it to. What do we... I wish if only we had some conduit to offload this additional capacity that would purchase it from us really at any time. If only something like that existed. It's too bad.
Oh, man. Exactly, dude. I mean, is it nefarious? You know what? No, of course it's nefarious. If we know Buffett is involved, bro, I think it's safe. It's definitely safe to say. Anyways, also big news for today. Nearly 10,000 Silk Road Bitcoin were sold by the U.S. government. A court document states on March 14, 2023, the U.S. government sold 9,861 Bitcoin. After transaction costs, the government received a profit of $215 million. $215 million. Okay. The government also disclosed that I've had a long day. The government also disclosed that there is still about 41,000 Bitcoin left to be sold, which they intend to sell over the course of the year in 4 additional batches. Okay. Hold on a second. Common sense. They're selling Bitcoin, which there's only 21 million of, for dollars, of which they have the ability to print an unlimited amount of. What, dude? Holy crap. Like, in what world does that make sense? I have no idea.
I don't know. It's it does boggle the mind. I mean, so I know that they're legally required to auction it. but it's hilarious, just the act of selling something that is truly finite for something that is truly infinite, and that they themselves can create. I honestly, people will look back at these points in history of the US selling massive amounts of Bitcoin, and they'll say, geez, they might have done okay had they just held up onto all those seized Bitcoin from the Silk Road. They would have been they would have retained their status as one of the richest nations on earth, perhaps. I think this will be a one for the history books, where people will laugh. It's going to be, how we look at they bought Manhattan, the island of Manhattan was bought for around $24 worth of trinkets. This is the equivalent. They just sold Manhattan for pieces of paper like that. That's what effectively has been done here. But yeah, I mean, it's hilarious, but not surprising all at the same time.
100% agree with you. Anyways, so the big news for today is the Wall Street Journal. Check this out, bro. This is the separation of money and state. Decentralized cryptocurrency markets threaten U.S. security, Treasury says. It goes on to say, the burgeoning decentralized cryptocurrency market threatens U.S. national security and needs greater oversight and enforcement against money laundering, the U.S. Treasury said on Thursday. The warning in a new Treasury report assessing the risk of the so-called DeFi markets lay the foundation of tougher regulations and punitive actions by federal regulators. DeFi platforms enable crypto investors to transact with each other through software running online. You guys all know the deal. But here's the part that I find interesting, and I'm going to tie this up with something that happened earlier on in the year. Illicit actors, including criminals, scammers, and North Korean cyber actors, are using DeFi services in the process of laundering illicit funds. Treasury's Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, quote, capturing the potential benefits associated with DeFi services requires addressing the risks. The report sketches out how the Treasury Department plans to bring the market under greater federal oversight, suggesting the platform that failed to establish its sufficient vetting policies, risk enforcement action. I mean, again, the U.S. is acting like, look, we have everything under control. The reality is that Binance is an overseas company. FTX was an overseas company. Not to mention the fact that here, when they said North Korean cyber actors, that was the excuse that the Treasury used in order to justify the sanctioning of open source software, Tornado Cash, right? Which inevitably led to a big majority of Ethereum validators actively censoring for the Office of Foreign Asset Control, which is part of the U.S. Treasury, right? So again, you're seeing this slow creep, right? It's DeFi first. We have to isolate, the bank's Operation Choke Point 2.0. It's all for your safety. There's absolutely no inflation. You need central banks. And what you actually do need is a central bank digital currency. So I'm not a fan of DeFi. I don't think there is such thing as DeFi. I think it should really be called CeFi as a Bitcoiner. But I am extremely wary by all the hostility taken by the U.S. Treasury over the last couple of months under the guise of it's for consumer protection, terrorism, anti-money laundering. It's like, those are the three things. It's like, we could do anything, take away all your freedoms, not have to go through Congress. Just, me, Janet Yellen, we want to have the authority to do that. And what's interesting is that in the TikTok ban, it gives them the authority to take even more power without going through Congress, specifically giving it to an appointed bureaucrat, not one that's elected by the people. So this is the slow creep, man. And I suspect, man, what's going to happen is that there's going to be this inevitable clash. And I think it's going to happen within the next 10 years.
Yeah. The interesting part about all those things, the money laundering, the terrorist financing, all of the usual stuff that they throw at these things to basically have free reign to do anything. There's never like a burden of proof, and there's never a comparison to existing systems, right? Because as soon as you hold up the two things, what was it? The former CIA director, I believe, came out and said, like, actually, turns out that like most of the money laundering and illicit financing and all that stuff tends to run through the regular banking system like 4 times as much as is happening on Bitcoin. And that number is actually falling as more mainstream uses, kind of roll out and more people are using Bitcoin for just day-to-day stuff. That number, that illicit number of transactions is falling as a percentage of total Bitcoin use. And the HSBCs of the world are still doing what they do best, which is like laundering money for Mexican drug cartels, getting caught for doing it multiple times over and getting slaps on the wrist that effectively add up to, the cost, the business cost associated with making large sums of money for doing illegal things. So like there's no comparison. It's just like bad things happen on Bitcoin, which bad things happen with all forms of money, and they're blaming the medium rather than the crime.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Spot on. I mean, but it's like it's all like man, what's that famous term? It's all smokes and mirror, man. It's like, look, like TikTok bad, Chinese Communist government, but they just include all of this BS in the bill that would take even more powers. And remember, that's kind of the trick that they played passing the Patriot Act. Mm-hmm. That is now, 10, 15 years down the road has been used against the American public, right? Mm-hmm. So this is crazy. Yes, and read the mandibles. 100%. Sovereign individual, the mandibles, holy crap. Did they know? It
is indeed. And if we could both channel Odell, mandibles. It's a good, honestly, like the opening of the mandibles is kind of what grabbed me the most. Like the initial stages of like, oh, shit's going wrong in the US. Like it's already bad at the beginning of the book, but like some of the major like presidential addresses and stuff like that. Cause I picture watching that for real, because it's something that like we are seeing the precursors to those types of things now. And it's just like things that people couldn't imagine happening are happening daily now. And I wouldn't be surprised, maybe not to see exactly this, because they'll just, the options that they go through in the book, I think the US would just sooner fully print their way out of it. But nonetheless, it's a very interesting read. If you haven't listened to the interview with the author, Lionel Shriver, Odell had her on.
So good.
She's an absolute gem.
Mm-hmm.
I love listening to her. I love her so much. I think she's going to be in Miami, isn't she?
Yeah, no, I think Odell convinced her to be in Miami, but she's almost there, But I was really, what I found interesting is her response, right? Like her response was, they're gonna ban it. Like they're not gonna allow this to happen. She doesn't really know, but when she finds out, she's gonna have that beautiful eureka moment that all Bitcoin is like, holy crap, we can win, we can do this.
I mean, she's basing it on. Like throughout the whole interview, it sounds as if, she just kind of has that, the same mentality that, you would in a world where you were like, well, gold made sense and it was kind of our only hope. And then, it was corrupted and co-opted, and then the peg was dissolved, and then not understanding how you would build something that prevents those things from happening. That's all that needs to be understood. So if she can work her way through the features of Bitcoin that prevent that, I think she's going to have that moment. And I really hope she does.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, Paxful, and kind of connect this with what the Treasury was saying, right? Mm-hmm. So wait, hold on. I want to make sure that we're not going over time. Okay, we got 6 minutes left. Yeah. Okay. Paxful closing. CEO blames staff departures, regulatory challenges, and again, that's really like, look at this, Ben. A quarter of the company was compliance people. Even that was not enough to please Uncle Sam.
Yeah. It's a veritable nightmare, right? Like trying to run and I mean, there's so many companies. What was it? Was it Bittrex that just exited the US too? They're like, this is way too much work to try and please Uncle Sam. We're out. Tough.
Yeah. But, I mean, dude, but like again, like it's gonna be such a hard pill for US politicians because of like they've had so much power for so long. Then Bitcoin comes along and it's like, that doesn't work anymore, bro. And then they just don't know what to do. Like it's just so crazy to me. Anyways, moment of silence for Paxful.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to this, and then I want to talk about the Apple stuff. But take a look at this narrative. The Telegraph, totally, legit, like corporate media outlet. Our money printing spree does not cause inflation crisis. Bank of England insists, right? And I want to take a look at this, right? So for our audio listeners, here is the inflation data from the UK, right? The annual CPI and the RPI inflation rates. And take a look at this, right? So this was 2020. And then the inflation rate shot up, right? So we don't have like the M2 data that we have from the Fed, right? But maybe you guys will see a pattern. Maybe we're just crazy Bitcoiners. But this is the M2 represents the money supply, basically. And take a look. Around the same time, 2020, the money supply just shot up. Maybe that relates. And mind you, every central bank around the world, especially the big ones, the Bank of England, the ECB, the Federal Reserve, they all did the same thing, right? They all kind of pulled this off. Now let's take a look at what the inflation rate was with the Federal Reserve. Of course, this goes back to the 70s and the 80s where it was very bad. But take a look at this. 2020, around exactly the same time when the M2 money supply shot up. And guess what? Crazy inflation. And it looks like this only goes up to 2021. How weird is that? What happened there? Why aren't you guys going to 2022? It's very strange. So when I see this, bro, this is pure propaganda hidden behind a very nice, so-called reputable, fiat, like, bro, New York Times, all that, man. It's like they're dinosaurs of this age, but this is the type of bullshit they're feeding the public. I think if the public wakes up to this reality, Ben, game fucking over, bro.
Dude, this headline here, like, first of all, the headline, our money printing spree did not cause inflation crisis. Bank of England insists. If that is not the most cope heavy headline I've ever read, I don't know what it, like, it's such gaslighting. And then it also reminds me of, do you remember that FDIC video? The woman, like a couple of years ago, like in the midst of the panic as stuff was going to shut down, people were, starting to take money out of the banks. And it was like the FDIC. And she's like, just so you know, there is no need to go and take your money out of the banks. It is totally safe. And like, and people are like, do you need to make this video if it is? And like, now looking back now, like what a canary in the coal mine that was.
Dude, they lie. What's that Schultz-Netzen quote? Like, they lie. We know they're lying. They know they're lying, but they're lying anyways. Yeah. Holy cow, man. This is just, it's a slap in the face. Anyways, the big news for today, I would say, is the Apple news. This is absolutely bonkers. The Bitcoin white paper is hidden in every modern copy of Mac OS, meaning if you're using a Mac computer, looking at you as Elizabeth Warren, you have a copy of the Bitcoin white paper on that computer. Even if you're not connected to the internet, if you guys want to give it a go, you put in these terminal commands and it will pull it up, which is absolutely freaking crazy. Here's a screenshot of it. It has all 9 pages. I wonder what engineer, was behind that. But here's the thing. Here's something very, very interesting, Ben. So here's BitcoinReserve.com. It highlights all the celebrities, politicians, business owners, athletes that are holding Bitcoin, or basically went out and say they own Bitcoin. And guess who is at the top of the list? Tim Cook. Now, to be fair, in the interview that he did, I think it was with the Wall Street Journal, they asked him, "Do you own crypto?" And he, I don't know, you could tell that he says like, "No, I own Bitcoin." But, to give him credit, right, he didn't say that Apple is doing this, but he said something really interesting. He says it belongs in every well-diversified portfolio. So you have, just connect the dots a little bit. You have the Bitcoin white paper in every single Mac for the last 4 years. You have the CEO of the company saying, "I own Bitcoin and it's part of a well-diversified portfolio." And then not to mention Apple's $204 billion cash problem. And you sense like, Nico, having $204 billion, what do you mean a cash problem? So if we talk about Apple, the amount of cash and U.S. Treasuries that Apple has, and I'm looking for it, and I can't find. Here we go. Fucking up on air. I'm sorry, Ben.
200 billion. Oh wait.
Oh, here it is. Apple's cash and investments first top 200 billion in the fiscal year ended in September 2015. Since then, it has aggressively tried to dispense it. Apple announced plans this week for billions in capital expenditures. It is also raising its stock buyback program by $90 billion. It goes on to say that it ended the March quarter with $38.5 billion in cash. So, and if you think about it, if you think about what, and Michael Saylor has talked about this tremendously, right? So you talk about, the amount of cash that Apple had, it's between 38 billion, 200 billion, but let's be conservative and let's say it's 38 billion, right? If you multiply 38 billion by the current inflation rate, that means that they're losing 2.2. No way that's right. Holy cow. They're basically losing hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, in purchasing power every single year because they're choosing to leave their cash in fiat. Now, what Michael Saylor was doing is this is literally the case that Michael Saylor is saying. Michael Saylor is making the case that Bitcoin is a viable alternative to holding fiat. And I think next cycle, Nayib Bukele on a nation state level and Michael Saylor on a public company level will be vindicated, and they will prove that it's a much better idea to do that than to be holding fiat money in your balance sheet. Now, the reason that Apple's able to get away with this and then to just shoulder the burden of losing all that purchasing power due to inflation is because of the crazy amount of money they make. But could you imagine if Tim Cook feels secure and he just takes, let's say he just takes 10, 15, 20% of, of the Apple balance sheet, or the part of Apple's position in fiat, and he puts that into Bitcoin. He'd be saving his company millions, if not billions of dollars every single year. So, dude, I think that this is an inevitability, and I think there's signs that are being shown that the people at Apple are big fans of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I do wonder if like Tim Cook knew that this was there, if he was privy to it, or if it was just like some guy on the team was like, "I'm just gonna bury this here, and we'll see if it ever if it ever shows up." Like, I wonder if how many people were privy to this. I'm very, very curious. Nonetheless, it's clearly in violation of copyright, and they can expect a lawsuit from Craig Wright.
Dude, could you imagine Craig Wright? I bet you know what happened? I'm telling you what happened right now, Ben. CSW started crying, and he called Elizabeth Warren. He said, "Could you believe this? Please, Elizabeth. And then right then and there, Elizabeth took her MacBook and she threw it out the window, bro. Right there.
Yeah.
For everyone to see.
Definitely happened. She's stomping on it as we speak. She's never gonna go. She's Windows only now.
Oh man.
Well, dude, this is a good one. Thank you so much for coming around and filling us all in. I have no idea what happens when you leave when we're co-streaming, so we'll
Yeah, I have no idea. Oh wait, no, I think I'm gonna have to hang out in the background. But anyway.
we don't know. It's okay.
Let's experiment. Let's experiment what happens. Anyways, everybody, this was your Simply Sessions. Ben, this was awesome. I'll see you next week.
Awesome. See you later, man. And everybody, thank you for sticking around. And I've got a few more things I want to drop on you guys before we round out. Just a couple things that I thought were worth bringing up. I got to give a shout out to Sparrow Wallet. Have you seen what's going on with Sparrow Wallet? They dropped, the Sparrow Wallet is so full featured. That's got so much great stuff. And they just rolled out something called border wallets. If you're unfamiliar with border wallets, it's basically a way of making your seed phrase memorable as like a pictogram on a list of words. And so like you see, if you're watching on the live stream here, you see basically a